So Star Wars, state of affairs with Star Wars. What's the state of play with Star Wars these days?
Well, we both grew up as millennials watching the prequels. We kind of grew up with Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, and then Revenge of the Sith. And Revenge of the Sith was like, as we were getting a little bit older, maybe like 12 years old, I want to say.
Yeah.
And it was extremely
13,
epic.
yeah.
And because we were young, it was all amazing.
Yes.
Then we watched the prequels. The prequels are even better. We're a little bit older. We have a bit more taste. And
no, the prequels are the first three. Phantom Menace is the prequels.
Yeah, the originals.
The originals, yes.
And then...
No, I'd seen the originals before I'd seen...
Revenge of the Sith.
And I thought that they were, like, because I was a kid, I didn't really understand the subtlety of it. I really liked number 5, like the Hoth battle and stuff.
Yeah, true.
And the others, I didn't really quite understand the true nature of the hero's journey and stuff. So I thought the prequels were cooler, and it was just like pod racing, fucking awesome,
flashy.
Yeah, like the toys. I love the toys. You know that yellow spaceship that Anakin flies in?
Pod racer.
No.
Oh wait,
when
like
he's
right before the Darth Maul fight, is it?
Yeah, well, yeah. Like around the Darth Maul fight, he gets in this like Naboo cruiser thing, and then destroys like one of the Trade Federation donut ships. Yeah, that shit was sick. I had a toy of that, and it shot like a laser out the bottom. Like any toy where you click a button and it shoots. That's fucking awesome. So we grew up with the prequels. We didn't mind the sequels. Then I thought the prequels was shit. Like I really got into Plinkett, like Star Wars reviews, and I thought it was comically bad, and I really didn't like George Lucas for a while. I thought that he'd sold out. I thought he'd ruined the saga with the prequels. Little did we know how bad it could get, and how lucky we were to have such films, even if they were a bit gimmicky. And
it should also be said that, from what I understand, the original trilogy was pretty cutting edge. And so were the prequels. The prequels were cutting edge, but we just didn't realize at that time that it wasn't going to be as good. You know, using CGI for, the majority of the movie isn't as impactful as making a set, like the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah, and when the filmmakers don't have the drive because they've already achieved what they needed to achieve, it tends to get a bit loose, and maybe different departments in the filmmaking industry took over certain things and made things confusing.
It becomes a machine at that point.
Yeah, whereas when you've got a visionary at the helm of the ship who ties everything together, like the first movie, apparently the first couple of cuts for the footage was an unmitigated disaster, and it took what's his name, George Lucas, recutting it on the weekends for a long time to make the movie actually make sense and drive forward the story. So and by the time it was the prequels, he was a little bit unhealthy, sitting on his ass, didn't really give a shit. He just wanted to get the movies out, get the toys out, and he wanted to do the world building, which is cool, and probably the most powerful part of the prequels is the world building, like the idea that Tatooine is built out way more, and there's all these different races, and there's all these new dynamics. Naboo, the different races on Naboo.
What it is ultimately, in my mind, the prequels is kind of fleshing out the originals. It's just providing a context to the originals, and in that sense, it's still kind of like it's not central. The originals are the central story that is being pushed. And seeing Anakin grow up and all that kind of stuff, that is kind of leading you into the originals. Yeah. And what happens with the Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams series is that is just going off all on its own. And as a kind of last-ditch effort to salvage the series, they bring in classic characters like Luke, who they ruined. Palpatine, I think there was a last-ditch effort to save the franchise.
Oh man, what happened there? Like, we got a lot of stuff to get into, so
yeah, we'll just slow it down a bit. But
we gotta give me that Camelback brand. Okay. So let's just continue talking about the prequels a little bit more.
Okay. So the prequels were good, especially growing up with them. As I got older and rewatched them, even without too much influence of Plinkett, because I didn't really watch him, it's definitely not as good as the originals. It's more gimmicky. I think it's more tailored to children.
Yeah, it's entertaining, but it doesn't have the
doesn't have the soul of
it's like fast food.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the wholesomeness that the originals provided, where it's you actually went on a hero's journey and there were hard times and he was failing. It's not like the new ones with Rey, who she can just do anything Mary Sue style.
Yeah.
They had to prove a point with her, whereas Luke was proving his own point. He was just some dude in the universe working on some farm. Who the fuck was he? Who knows? He wasn't anything, and he had to really grind in his early years, working on the farm with Uncle Owen, getting the evaporators ready for the harvest, drinking blue milk, Aunt Peru, and then his family got murdered. They got burnt alive, and then he has to go with some old man on a journey around the world. Around the universe, actually. It's a fucking epic story. Then they go to the cantina scene. Yeah, that was amazing. And then, by the sixth movie, it kind of peters out a bit. It's a little bit slow. You know, when you tried to watch all 6 movies in a row back when we were like 13, I would fall asleep as soon as the 6th one started.
Yeah.
Because it's just not entertaining enough at the beginning. Very slow. They're in Jabba's palace. Nothing's happening. Everybody's asleep, basically. And they're like nodding at each other with slow building stuff. So the prequels, the hero's journey was built into them. It was almost universal the way that it was written.
You mean the originals?
The originals, sorry. Yeah, the originals. It had, like, what's the original hero's journey?
So that was this guy, Joseph Campbell, who wrote a book, I think, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, and it's about him looking at every famous story or tale or journey that's described in, like, literature and mythology. And him kind of elucidating out these common themes. And it was like kind of a boy or like an individual being called to action, being called to adventure, kind of being scared to take that step, eventually taking it, facing some huge adversary, or adversity, which is typically like, facing the dragon, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
And once he conquers that, he then becomes the hero, who then imparts the wisdom onto another child along the way, or young person. So that's it's like this cyclical nature of reality, which is like growing up, finding mentors, defeating challenges. And you can map that directly onto Star Wars, because George Lucas has directly said he is inspired by Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. And you can map that onto Luke meeting Obi-Wan, having to conquer his father and the Empire, and that's why it kind of speaks to us on such a profound level. It's the same as Frodo in Lord of the Rings.
So wait, when did Joseph Campbell?
I'm not sure when he wrote that.
But was this in?
Oh,
interesting. Whoa. Was this? Do you think it was in the 19th century or?
Yeah. I think it's the 20th century.
Oh, okay. So, but the hero's journey is obviously older than that, but this Joseph Campbell guy pieced it together. It's not that he
invented it, it's that he captured it with words.
Yeah,
right. It was already there, and that's kind of his point, is that it exists under the surface of all great mythology, because it also maps onto reality as well.
Yeah.
And, a great story has kind of like universal, relatable themes.
Yeah, and it's the journey we all go through in our own lives. Failure, then redemption, triumph.
And I've heard it put that, like, if you're like a young adult and you reject...
Oh, Lizzie McGuire.
Insert Lizzie McGuire clip now. Jesse, if you're listening. Yeah, I've heard it put that, like, if you reject the call to action or the call to adventure that confronts everyone in their lives, you don't make that next evolution into, you know, the older person who becomes the mentor. You remain kind of in this childlike state, fractured as well, because you've rejected this, like, necessary calling. And that's why you see people who are like, when they're older and they're not where they want to be, and it's very sad. I mean, it has this, like, intuitive sadness about it.
Yeah.
Because these are people who have rejected their true calling in life.
Yeah.
And they know it, and people who see them know it. You can see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that maps onto Star Wars quite well, at least the originals. And the prequels are kind of setting that journey up. So it's still connected in some way to the hero's journey. It's when you get beyond that it kind of starts drifting away from the core.
So then, should we move on to the terrible events of the next movies? So, okay, we'll start with The Force Awakens, which, when I walked out of the theater for seeing it for the first time, I was happy.
I was extremely happy, and I saw it again.
I saw it 3 times, I think. I was in the United States at the time. I think I saw it twice. Once in Denver, once another time.
And I think what was great about The Force Awakens, and it's one of the main criticisms that people have with the movie, is that it directly copied its predecessors. And so it kind of just replaced Luke with Rey, Poe Dameron with Han Solo. It had a lot of just, like, overlapping characters who were just interchangeable.
Yeah.
And that was its downfall, is it didn't really pave any new ground, but at the very least, it still followed that hero's journey structure of A New Hope.
And it gave us what we wanted, which I think is what Rian Johnson, because he's a good director in my opinion. He knows about the hero's journey. He knows why the original Star Wars are good, and he didn't want to reinvent the wheel. Just keep doing the same formula. And
you're talking about J.J. Abrams.
Sorry, J.J. Abrams. Oh, Rian Johnson sucks balls. Did I say Rian Johnson?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he's terrible. So it was almost a shot-for-shot remake in some scenes from the prequels. The originals, which is great. And I would have loved for that to continue, because at least we could have rounded out the set of movies with some quality.
Also, I think, given that its success rides upon... Which way should we go? Can we get around through here?
No. We can walk up the side here.
Well, let's hope there's no more Vin Diesels.
Might have to go back.
What do you want to do?
You go back.
What was I saying? Yeah, it was almost a necessity to set up the framework for a new iteration of the hero's journey through the Star Wars lens. You kind of had to do a lot of the same things for world building.
Yeah.
The problem was, like, how much it overlaps. In J.J. Abrams' case, with Rey being from, like, this sand planet.
Yeah, I didn't mind that though.
I liked it at the time, but upon further reflection, he could have made it, less overlapping. But overall, like, it was going in a good direction. I was very optimistic at that point.
Yeah, I thought, like, Star Wars is back. We got a good director. I was hoping he would do the rest of the movies, keep a cohesive story, not hand it around with different directors. They did hand around the originals with different directors, so the 5th one was directed by someone different, and the 6th one, and they did have different feelings, but those directors were traditional in the sense that they didn't ruin movies to make a point. And we'll get to Rian Johnson in a moment.
Yeah, one thing I do think is a problem is this... Oi, what's that?
Oh, you stepped on the stick.
It's like the rake. I don't like this pass the parcel format of directing, especially because like you mentioned, J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson had a very different vision for how the story would go.
Yeah.
Very different directing styles, obviously, and storytelling methods.
Yeah.
And so what ultimately happened is this kind of like yo-yo effect where one person makes one move, the other pulls it back, and the other has to pull it back again. It's this like tug of war. And you can see it. You can visibly see it in the different storytelling of the
Who did
trilogy.
the 9?
JJ.
Okay.
So, and you can see JJ kind of trying to wrestle back the like remains of the franchise. Which he couldn't do.
What
frankly.
remains? Yeah, it was just so bad.
It was almost unsalvageable, and I don't think he did the greatest job even with what he had. But that said, he was handed a steaming turd.
So well. I know, when you're down on the water, you don't realise it.
Yeah. So essentially the 7th, it's pretty epic. It carried forth the hero's journey. It set Rey up as the new Luke. Set who else is a character? Who's that?
Poe, Finn.
Yeah, Finn's in there. Oh, yeah. I'm not.
A cool plot line of the Stormtrooper.
What about Rose Tico?
Oh, we'll get into that.
Yeah,
That's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, one thing I'm kind of against is this whole idea that everybody's got the Force, and that there isn't chosen ones. Like everybody's got the power.
Yeah.
It's kind of like everybody wins at the soccer match. Whoa. Jeez, there's some crazy fucking animals around here.
Also, to quote Incrediboy. Is it Incrediboy? No, to quote Flash from The Incredibles, when he's told he can't use his super fast running powers to win the race, his mom says, look, everyone's special. We need to treat them like that. And then he says, that's another way of saying nobody is. And so really, what was cool about Luke is that he had the Force.
Yeah.
That he was the chosen one. I mean, I think is that clear that he was the chosen one? Because Anakin basically also saved the day.
No, but he would bring balance to the Force. Anakin did bring balance to the Force by having Luke. So
right. So,
by,
but who is the chosen one? Skywalker, Luke, or Anakin?
I guess both. It's like a chain. It's the ancestry. The ancestry of the Skywalker family was the chosen one, I guess.
But yeah, with the
and Luke redeemed his father.
Yeah, very true.
Which was cool. Which was the cool part about the prequels, that it ended in complete misery, basically, and it ended in misery. But then there was full redemption from the perspective of Luke for his father, which I think isn't that part of the hero's. I feel like that's a deep part of the hero's journey, redeeming your father's mistakes or something.
Rescuing your father from the belly of the whale.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, we're bringing Billy Peterson back in here.
Bit of who wrote that? Moby Dick?
No. Moby Dick. No. Different. That's a different story.
Isn't it? Isn't Moby Dick where his...
No, the belly of the whale. Wasn't that a Jewish story or a Christian story? The belly of the whale is
Noah?
No, it's like Jeremiah or something, or Jebediah Springfield.
That was Moby Dick.
No. Moby Dick is a story about a Captain Ahab who went nuts trying to chase down this whale and essentially killed himself trying to attempt to capture a whale that was like the white whale, and it had nothing to do with going. It wasn't like it wasn't mythological in the sense. Okay. It was like real, like they never got in the whale's stomach or anything. I think he went down with the ship, and it was like the Queequod or something. Right. The Pequod was the ship name or something. But anyway, I think the mythology, the belly of the whale, it's either Jewish or Christian mythology. Right. Biblical. Biblical. So there's the redemption part. There's no wholesome redemption in the Rey trilogy.
No, because you had Rey, who was basically infallible from the get-go.
Yes.
You had Kylo, who was being set up to be a cool, anti-hero, which is that he was the son of Leia and Han. He was conflicted. He had evil inside of him because he was related to Anakin, obviously. But then you had Luke, whose complexity was ruined by the fact that he tries to kill his relative as a child because he senses darkness in him. After we had seen him save his dad, who was basically the most evil man in the galaxy, or the second most.
Yes.
He tries to kill Kylo Ren, or Ben Kenobi, when he's a kid. And that is just so out of character.
Yeah, they really cucked the movie there, where he... there's meant to be a full redemption, but Luke's had the redemption, saving his father, saving the person who's evil, because he knows that deep down these people were just essentially confused and lost. And, well, he didn't save him because he blew up on the Death Star, but he
saved his soul.
Yeah, he saved his soul.
He redeemed Anakin from, like, Darth Vader's grips.
Yeah, redeemed him from hell, basically.
Yeah.
And then Rey... It was, I think maybe because it was a disjointed trilogy where apparently Rey's father was Palpatine.
Grandpa.
Still doesn't make sense. Who was her parents?
I don't know, actually. And that's the problem.
I've seen the movie. I don't even know what happened.
Going around to this.
Fucking chicken run over here.
It's called, like, Rise of Skywalker or whatever.
Yeah.
Rey's not a Skywalker.
Yeah, it doesn't make fucking sense.
You could say that Kylo is a Skywalker, but he didn't really rise. He died.
Did he?
Yeah. He sacrificed his life for Rey. Rey was dead, and he infused his force power to revive her.
Man, it's all this Disney influence, I think. Maybe Disney... Essentially, their internal team was like, we can't have biblical references. We can't use the old mythology because that's not what the world's about these days. It's about everything new, everything is nothing, and nothing is everything.
Yeah.
And you can be anything at any time, and then you can swap to something else.
Well, it's a fundamentally different worldview that we are moving forward and we are progressing, as opposed to we're in this, like, cycle of just repetition, which is kind of what the hero's journey says.
Yeah.
Over time, we all go through this same journey, and there's the same underlying motifs. The Disney version says, no, screw that. We're going to we're going to ignore that. We're going to go in the complete opposite direction.
Yeah.
And spit in the face of that.
Yeah. What was that purple head chick who hated men?
Can't remember.
General someone? Not General Tarkin. He was like a Nazi or something.
I can't remember. Holder?
Yeah, Admiral Holder. Oh my god.
Yeah, and then, like, I don't know, what was the point of that? What was the point of her being in the series? Like, there's a lot of questions.
Because she proved that
her.
men suck.
Did she, though?
Well, they tried. They tried their hardest.
She kind of sacrificed her life doing that force jump thing.
That was kind of cool.
It was cool, but why not just jump out of the ship?
She needed some redemption.
Yeah. One other thing, which is like a viral YouTube video at this point, is the return of Palpatine in the final movie is explained by Poe, who says, somehow Palpatine has returned. And that's really all the explanation we get. And it's painful.
That was
painful.
Real painful, my friend. So then we can move into who is Rian Johnson? Where did he come from? Where is he going now?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I know that they wrestled. So they put out Force Awakens, biggest box office, I think, in history.
Probably.
Pumped, huge. Everybody's excited. Then they don't think, hey, let's stick with this formula. They give it over to we need to get at, is Disney trying to ruin history? Are they trying to destroy and shatter mythology? Because they had a perfect formula. It's in their financial best interest to keep the thing going. And somehow they give it to a director who says, if everybody likes this movie, I'll feel like I've failed.
Yeah.
real words from him. Well, close enough words. We'll get the specific words up in the clip.
He said, that's effectively what he said. It's like, I don't want everyone to like this. It should be a even split of people who love it and hate it.
I think that's just something when you realize you fucked up. It's a way that you're like, I was actually trying to fuck it up.
Yeah, it's a very, clear cope, but... I don't know. I don't know why they would have done the method they chose of having... But I believe, actually, Ryan was meant to do the final 2.
Yes. And then
because he botched it
they
so
fired
much.
him.
They gave it back to JJ, who...
Yeah.
Still had a reputation of, he had made a decent movie. But I don't know why they thought Ryan was the way they should go in the first place. I don't know what he had directed previously. I think JJ had done Star Trek, and that was...
I reckon the focus groups at Disney were thinking hey, the world's going woke, let's be innovative and be the first people to remake something as woke as we can.
Yeah.
And then it really backfired on them because nobody wants it. It's taken 10 years for these companies to realize nobody wants this woke shit.
I don't think they've even realized yet. I think the Matrix will be woke, the new Matrix.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a special case. But then, so Rian Johnson fucks the trilogy, and then essentially people boycott the entire Star Wars franchise, and Han Solo then comes out 2 weeks later, and I think they did some modeling and they lost $300 million on Solo.
Wow.
Because nobody would watch it. And Han Solo was not as bad as number 8, but it was not too great either. It was just Disneyified.
I didn't watch
the whole thing. It has this Disneyification that makes things suck.
Yeah, it's like this gumball effect of
focus groups everywhere.
They take the texture away.
You need kind of a leader at the helm who pushes for ideas that might not impress everybody. You could say that about Rian Johnson, but clearly Rian Johnson is a soy boy cuck just by the look of him.
Yeah, you can see it. His physiognomy
his physiognomology
is all off.
It's all off. And yeah, we should,
it's Lucas
using this footage, we should cut out what's good in these clips and then kind of tie it in with some more clip reviews from the movie.
Yeah.
And then we'll get the footage of Rian Johnson talking.
Yeah.
And we'll comment on all the shit that he's commenting on. I think this is good. It just flows when we're talking about something that's actually interesting. This is good training. I said fucking shit a few too many times, but...
Yeah, did I? Probably.